This music is almost 100 years old. Which masters are we talking about?
Right, you got a point.
Robert Johnson, Son House, Charlie Patton, Tommy Johnson, all those cats are the original masters. They've been gone for 50, 60 years.
Right.
Behind them came the Howlin' Wolves, Muddy Waters, Coco Taylors, whatever. Most of them are now gone. There are still a few left,
Right.
James Cotton. And every time we lose one, we lose a direct connection back to history, and that is a
Well,
loss.
it's interesting. I was a rock and roll DJ for over 20 years, and I was one of those guys that read all the album cover liners. And I kept seeing these names of artists that I didn't know that were on the Rolling Stones albums, the Led Zeppelin albums, you know, just these groups that were playing the blues. And I said, well, who are these guys? And I started investigating who this Robert Johnson guy was. You know, who are these guys, Howlin' Wolf, who are these guys that are putting down the, I knew the big names.
Right.
But, you know, the early roots of the blues I didn't know. And I started investigating and I was playing the music. And I said, oh, Traveling Riverside Blues. Led Zeppelin? No, Robert Johnson, you know?
Well, I might say that it's changed over more than the last 15. You know, when I started in recording blues in 1971, virtually all the important artists were African American. Most of them were performing primarily in the African American community. A few, like B.B. King and Muddy Waters, were getting out into the rock ballrooms or onto the college circuit. But the vast majority were playing in neighborhoods for people that like the people they grew up with.
Well, I've been on both sides of it too, right? I mean, when I first started, I was the fan that I was able to talk to all my favorite bands and my favorite artists because there was no barrier. And now I'm seeing the switch a little bit where, you know, younger players are coming up to me, and it's nice to see that full circle. Yeah. But just in general, the fact that there's no barrier makes it easy to, you know, get the information you need when you're a young player. You know, what kind of amps to use, what are the cool guitars, the cool stuff to listen to. So I like that.
Blues is. It's descended from the African griot, which was always taught, and the griots were always documenting history, documenting the day-to-day events, and the blues has been very much that in its inception for the people that created it.
Tell me, why did you choose to play blues over all the other genres of music out there? Why'd you pick blues?
I think that's kind of like asking what keeps you alive. I mean, we know the heart and the brain and the lungs, you know, help to make your body run, and they keep you running, but actually being alive.
Yeah.
That's what blues and when I was a kid, gospel music did for me. It really woke me up, and it's kept me going ever since.
It's like an emotion. Well, you've been really gracious. You know, you've opened your home, you know, for me to be able to come in and do that. But I got to point to the CDs and the vinyl. I mean, oh my God. Like I told you earlier.
This is entirely a blues collection. I mean, there's some stuff that's slightly away from the blues, but it's the cousin. There's maybe some great gospel or soul music or jazz blues, but this is a blues lovers collection.
This is blues.
This is a blues collection.
Well, when I came in here, the first thing I thought was like, you got a collection that compares to, you know, to Bob Kester's, you know, Jazz Mart almost in Chicago.
I couldn't live up to that statement, but it is a great collection, and you know, some great record collectors come and they'll spend hours delving through my.
So when did you start? I mean, when did this? I don't want to call it an obsession, but I'm going to. When did the obsession?
Probably when I was like 13 years old and I bought my first Muddy Waters record.
At the same time, there's been a wonderful respect for the older traditions, and that's what I love about this genre. That the younger musicians, I should say, are coming into the genre, respecting the old traditions, but then moving the blues into new places.
Well, I was a singer of all kinds of different styles. As a young girl, I was relegated to what was in my parents' record collection, and that included Patsy Cline, Hank Williams, the Carter Family, Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin. So I sang a lot of different kinds of music. But as I got older, I started discovering more and more blues music. And I found out in blues that there were a lot of women who sang about their past, who were proud of their background, who didn't hide the fact that they were large-sized sexual beings. And it was quite ironic because at a time when women couldn't even legally vote, and especially...
Yeah, baby.